The 365 Pro Wrestling.
365 Nation, Eddie Osborne here. This is episode number 82 of the 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast. And today's guest, none other than half a reloaded, it's Jacky Lee. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Eddie. How are you?
I'm loving life. It's beautiful out. I know the world's crazy right now, but I'm really enjoying this time with my family, and summer's here basically for me. So I'm enjoying that and hoping everything gets a little bit better, a little bit more positive, and we get some more wrestling happening and just a whole bunch better in the world happening. So, but I'm loving where I'm in my life with my family and all that. How about you?
I'm doing pretty great. I feel like I'm one of the oddballs in this scenario that I'm actually really enjoying this time off, just because I'm super socially awkward, super introverted. So just being locked inside my apartment has been a blast. But it is nice talking to you. It's been a few months since I've actually talked to a fellow wrestler. So this is going to be a good change of pace, and it's going to be great for my mental health.
Definitely. Now, what got you into pro wrestling? Like, what started this all for you?
So my earliest memory of watching wrestling is probably back when I was 9 or so, watching Raw on TV. This was back when Evolution was around. It was probably when I first started getting in there. I also have memories of actually watching ECCW on my local Shaw TV network at home. So I remember watching folks like Cremator, Nicole Matthews, Scotty Mack, all of them on my local TV show, and getting to work with them now on a regular basis is pretty mind-blowing, actually.
That's pretty cool, actually. That's when you get to see these people and then you get to become one of their peers. Like, that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like still now, the fact that I'm training with Nicole Matthews, the fact that I'm sharing the ring with, all these people like Billy Swade as well. I remember seeing back in the day, just sharing the ring with them, learning from them, and just from one moment seeing them on your TV and the next moment being in the same ring with them is super humbling.
Is that what got you into training? Seeing the ECCW stuff locally and being like, hey, wait a minute, I could do this?
Like, you took the words from my mouth. Just the fact that it was local, and after attending a show more recently as well, just seeing it live and in person, and just, taking that shot, because a lot of people, they have these dreams and aspirations, but they always push it aside, saying that, it's not a realistic thing to do, or it's just like a childhood dream. It's nothing more than that. And they'll go to their office job. But for myself, it was, for me, after I finished my studies, I really wanted to take that dive and give it an honest shot at something. And I took that leap, joined ECCW, and I'm here now. It's pretty great.
And ECCW has the greatest school going. They got so many amazing trainers there. They have wrestlers that come in and work out as well all the time. Like, it's such a great family, and like there's a rivalry because everyone wants to get better. Can you kind of talk about your training and like the beginning of Jacky Lee?
For sure. Yeah. So when I first started training, I started training with a small class, Travis Williams, Sharif Morrow, Eric Strange. We all kind of grew up together and trained together over the last few years. And it's been pretty great. And we're all pushing each other, trying to be better. And it's been pretty crazy to see how far we've come. And I wouldn't have changed anything for the world. Like you mentioned, we have one of the best schools around. I did have thoughts about joining other schools across the country, and I'm super happy I ended up with ECCW. And I honestly do believe we have some of the best trainers in Canada, if not the world. I genuinely enjoy all the training sessions I've had with Nicole Matthews, Artemis Spencer, Tony Baroni. I couldn't have asked for better coaches.
No, that's pretty amazing. And what a class to join with like Trav, Sharif, and Strange, like, and yourself. You guys are such talented wrestlers. Like, I know maybe in the beginning it took a little bit of time, but so much athleticism in that group. How was it in the very beginning days? Was it easy? Did it come pretty quick, or was it really challenging?
Some things were challenging. Some things I did have a previous amateur wrestling background, so I think that helped. I have a fairly athletic sports background as well in school, and all of that genuinely helps because obviously you're not going to be able to just jump in here with no athletic experience. There's a lot to it, but all that stuff definitely helped. But I remember when I first started, actually, and I've brought this up in the past with a few people, but I had a really hard time learning how to run the ropes, actually.
Oh.
Just because the footwork was very awkward, the pivots at the last second, and making sure you don't dump yourself out of the ring if you don't grab the ropes, and obviously all the bruises and stuff as the ropes dig into your back, and the different ropes you got to work with, and all that stuff. I obviously practiced a whole bunch. There were times where I just come to training early and just hit the ropes and practice that stuff. So it's second nature now, but that was probably one of the harder things that I had to learn initially. And obviously the bumps aren't easy, and there's a bunch of little things here and there, but that's one thing that I like to bring up, actually.
And when you said bruises, people are like, why are they getting bruised hitting the ropes? It's actually cable or rope. And for my ring, it's cable. And then it's encased with a hose and then taped up. Like, that's what it is. It's cable. It's still cable, or it's hard rope. And when you're throwing your body into it, like, it doesn't tickle it. So many people train with me, or the first thing they want to do is try and touch the ropes. Like, oh, sure, hit that rope for once. And they're like, oh, that hurts. I'm like, yes, it does. Until you find the right body positioning and like that pivot's right on par. Like, it's so crazy. And the amount of energy it expends from you, like after a minute, you're like huffing and puffing sometimes. So I always like that the ropes are so challenging, and like, it's like, no one thinks it's going to be the ropes, but it's the ropes.
Definitely, it's one of those things you don't realize until you're in there, and it's those little things for sure.
Now, at the top of this whole thing, you're an introvert. You like being at home. Wrestling is almost the exact opposite of that. Do you not agree?
Yeah, you are 100% correct. I have to pretty much pull a whole. It's the gimmick. It's you're a different character out there, pretty much. So when I'm at home by myself, I'm happy. I like to go out for runs and work out on my own. But it is good to refresh my social batteries every now and then. Like, on occasion, I do have to force myself to go to training. Sometimes I don't want to see people, but once I'm out there and I'm, hanging out with the fellow wrestlers and just joking around about wrestling and telling jokes, and Travis is making fun of people and Sharif is in the corner giggling. It's a nice environment to be in. And even though I do mention I am introverted, it is a kind of different just to be with the wrestlers, for sure.
That's awesome. And now, when you were training, was there any piece of advice or anything one of the trainers said to you that like stuck with you and is something like you keep to this day? I know that's a big question. There's a lot in there, but
yeah, so many little things. Off the top of my head, I know Tony Baroni, who's been a very significant mentor in my life. He's given me so much good advice inside and outside of the ring in terms of psychology, just little things like amplifying your persona times 10, because if you're in the ring and you're, sheltered and you're not like shouting out into the crowd and you're not amplifying your personality, it's going to notice and you're not going to stand out in the ring. So that's one thing that I struggle with, just because my personal personality is very different. I'm very quiet. I'm very reserved. And when you're out there, you're screaming and you want to get the crowd on your side, it's very different than what I'm used to. But yeah, just learning that the person that I am in the ring is not the same person as I am outside of the ring, and just learning to kind of push past those barriers, push past my comfort levels. And that stuff has really helped my career, I think.
It's amazing. And now, what about that first ever match? Can you tell me like who you wrestled, where it was, when it was?
Yes. So this was back in June of 2017. It was a tag team match out in Abbotsford. It was me and Sharif. Before we were formerly known as Reloaded, this is our first match, but we tagged against Travis Williams and Eric Strange. So literally, our starting class got a chance to show off what we got in a tag match in Abbotsford, and that was pretty fun. And I had some friends in the crowd cheering me on. May or may not have had a few botches in the ring, but other than that, like, the crowd was amazing and the locker room was super, super supportive. And Big West Wrestling out in Kelowna reached out to us right away after our first match, asked us to come out to Kelowna and wrestle, and that really boosted my confidence as well. Just the thought that there were people out there wanting me out with their promotion and perform for them, for a new audience, that stuff is really humbling.
Very much so. And now going into that match, like, ECCW really, like, the Lionsgate Dojo, they really prepare you guys to, like, get in that first match, and then you're going to learn from each one of those matches, obviously. But did you guys, like, go in there pretty confident, like, just because you were all friends, you guys trained together, or was it Nerve City?
I would say it's probably a little bit of both. I was super, super, super nervous, and I had two thoughts. On the one hand, I wanted to play it safe because I didn't want to screw anything up, but at the same time, I wanted to stand out. So I did a couple extra things in the match, a few risky things that didn't pay off. I tried my first rope walk out there, and I slipped on the ropes, but I recovered into a springboard onto Eric, who caught me, which worked out. But at the same time, we had our international in there. We had some chain in there. We had all the basic stuff just to show that we can work, and we didn't have to, go too far out of our comfort zone. But the fact that we all trained together and we all knew each other really helped, because if I had to go out there and had a vet out there call it on the fly, I would have, shat my pants, versus having somebody that I've trained with. I know what they like to do, and I know their moveset, and I know their strengths and weaknesses. That was really comforting, and I think that really helped put a good match and leave a good impression on the ECCW audience as well as the ECCW locker room, that, hey, these guys have put in the work and they can go. So these guys deserve a shot, and I hope we prove that night.
I definitely think you guys did, because you guys have been storming up the ranks like crazy now and doing so many big things. But before I get to, like, the big ballrooms, what happened next? Was it Big West you guys went out to, and then just slowly branched out from there, or did you guys go a different route?
Yeah, so Big West was super nice about bringing us out there, which was really nice. Mostly worked locally, just because we were still new, still getting our legs, still super green. Worked with Mitch Mulligan a whole bunch. I'm sure you remember him from back in the day. Got to work with the Wise Men and learn from them in the ring. So a lot of local shows out in New Westminster, the Sapperton Pensioners Hall, as well as a few RCC shows here and there.
That's amazing. Now, the Wise Men, I think, are one of the greatest tags ever, like, or groups in general, and I think they really helped Travis out as well. But, like, how was tagging against those guys, like, especially in the beginning, like, two trainers, two guys who've done a ton of stuff? Like, what was that experience like? Or did you work with was Trav tagging at the time?
It was mostly Travis at the time, because Billy Swade was still out in the Philippines. But I did eventually work with Billy once he came back a whole lot more, which was nice. But just being in there with somebody like Tony Baroni is just, I can't understate how comforting it is to have someone like him in the ring looking out for you. And I can talk for hours about all the things that he's done for me outside of the ring as well. But just having him in the ring, providing that comforting presence, calling things whenever things go awry, and whenever I'm forgetting stuff. And he's just always looking out for people, and he does not deserve, or he doesn't get the credit he deserves as much as he needs.
Sure. Now, he's a guy who, like, when I was getting my students ready, and I'd have Brony, and I'd have them work Brony, because I knew they'd walk away with a ton of new stuff, and he'd sit down with them after and help them out. It was always appreciated. And that's what I think everyone offers on this area right now. Everyone's pushing each other to be better. What pushed you and Sharif to be a tag team?
It's kind of funny, because I remember we had our first mock match in training, and we just got randomly put into a team together, and we had instant chemistry. I would say that he's the yin to my yang. He offers a lot of complementary skills that I don't have, and I want to say that I probably do the same for him. He's like a very talented striker, the most charismatic person you'll ever meet in your life. Whereas myself, like I mentioned, I'm a bit more a lot. I don't want to say humble, but I'm a lot more quiet. I'm a lot more reserved than he is, and we complement each other really well. And I could not have asked for a more supportive friend and partner.
I'm going to skip a little bit ahead now. Ballroom Brawl, you guys came out with that amazing entrance. Can you kind of talk about that?
So that's... Yeah, I just have the biggest smile on my face right now just thinking about that moment. And I remember seeing you backstage. You were telling me just to, absorb that moment. And that was what I did. And Ray Erner, who's our super talented photographer for ECCW, I remember seeing him take some photos of me ringside during that line dance performance. And I just had the biggest smile on my face. But a little bit of background, I think a lot of wrestlers in this industry have their dream WrestleMania entrance. And for myself, the line dancing has always been my dream WrestleMania style entrance. And I'm not horribly optimistic that I'll ever get a chance to wrestle at WrestleMania. So I figured Ballroom Brawl was our WrestleMania, and that was the greatest time or the best opportunity for me to pull out the line dancing was because it was Chinese New Year and this was Reloaded. Big opportunity, our first ever title shot at Commodore Ballroom. I had all my friends and family in the audience, and I just pulled the trigger and decided to hire those line dancers to come in and do that great entrance. And I'm super, super happy I did. Everybody backstage was super complimentary, and that was my moment.
Yeah, it was amazing. What did they think about participating in such an event? Because that's a little bit different, pro wrestling, and it comes together so nicely.
Yeah, like they've never done anything like that. When I was doing some research, on occasion they'll do some corporate stuff like, hey, there's this new bank that's opening, let's put on a show for them, or hey, the Canucks want to bring us down for Chinese New Year, let's do something there. But this is kind of a lot more personal, a lot more intimate, and very different for them. But I think they did a great job, and they enjoyed themselves, and I would be very happy to do it again if the circumstances align.
Oh, no doubt. I really enjoyed it, and I could see you smiling and Sharif loving it. It was just a really good time, and I love that. The atmosphere is key. Let's talk about some of the stuff you've done in the States now, because you guys are really moving around. You've done some single stuff. You got the tag. Talk about some of the opportunities in the States.
For sure. I love the opportunity to wrestle out in the States, mostly in the Seattle area. There are promotions out there. 3-2-1 Battle isn't around, but I'm super grateful for all of the opportunities that they've given me and Sharif. I had one of my favorite matches ever with them, with Daniel Makabe, who's super, super talented, super, super underrated. Finally getting a bit of spotlight on him in the last year. Without a Cause, they are amazing. They've given so many opportunities to the talents out here, whether it's, Travis Williams getting to work with DJ Z back in the day. You have the Strays getting all those opportunities out there. You had it with Beef Boy and Judas Icarus. You have State of Emergency going down there. Parm as well. Without a Cause is like super, super great about giving those opportunities to those people. And it's super great to have Canadians down there, because the Canadians out in Vancouver and out on the island, they don't get the biggest spotlight on them, but whenever they get to work Without a Cause or Defy, they get that opportunity. And I mentioned Defy as well. They're the premier organization out in Seattle, and they have all the top names, and just the fact that, Judas and Travis are regulars out there and they're getting such amazing opportunities and pushes says a whole lot about Defy as an organization. And we not to get too behind the scenes, but me and Sharif unfortunately were unable to do one of our opportunities with Defy due to some border problems, but I do look forward to the opportunity of working with them in the future.
And it'll be great. It'll be awesome. Just to see you guys in that atmosphere and that crowded. They'll eat you guys up. They'll love it. Now, without you love bike riding, I know, and hiking and stuff like that. Is that what brought you to the Netherlands? Because you mixed kind of like adventure with pro wrestling again, and you end up working for Dutch Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, so for myself, I like to mix the vacation time and wrestling time. So, well, right after I joined wrestling, I always had Amsterdam, the Netherlands, on my bucket list of places I wanted to travel. So when I was doing my research of things I wanted to do, aside from all the hiking and biking I wanted to do over there, they also had a promotion called Dutch Pro Wrestling out there, and they had a show running the same time I was going to be out there, and all the stars aligned actually because Tajiri, one of my role models growing up, was actually going to be booked on the same card, and he was running a seminar that exact same time as I was going to be there. So I hopped on that opportunity, got to take part in that Tajiri seminar, learned a whole bunch. And when I first reached out to Dutch Pro Wrestling, they didn't promise me any bookings or anything. But after seeing how I did in the seminar, they offered me a match on their card. I had a singles match with a very talented wrestler named Daniel Van Kwijik, if I pronounce that name correctly, who's one of the vets out there, and had a great match. Had a simple match, and I really, really enjoyed my time out there. And they had the most hospitable locker room ever. They had the most friendly people, and I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity as my first international match.
Pretty cool. That's really cool, actually, to meet Tajiri, do the seminar, not even be on the show, but do well enough that you're put on the show. Like, that must have been a huge confidence booster as well.
Yeah, like personally, I probably have like the worst self-esteem and self-confidence out of anybody in the locker room. But the fact that somebody is able to get some international experience a year into their wrestling career really, 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 really boosted my confidence.
That's amazing. Now, you mentioned a Makabe and that being one of your favorite matches. Do you have any others like that stick out, that like top couple matches that you always will, hey, if someone wants to see a match of you, you'll plug that one in?
For sure. Like recently, actually, just the few matches I've had with the Voros twins have been pretty amazing. We've been feuding with them for a little bit, and they're just super creative and super talented individuals. And I'm super happy to have had a couple of matches with them. Like our recent one at the Commodore was super amazing. I also really enjoyed my matches with Travis Williams. He's super talented, and he knows how to put good matches together, and he knows how to draw out the best out of people as well. And he's really good at pushing you, and he makes everybody better whenever he gets the chance to share the ring with somebody. So I really enjoy my matches with him, and yeah, I would say those are the ones that come to mind at the moment, but there's probably a whole bunch more. The 4 minutes of heat match I had actually with Sharif with Without a Cause, I really enjoyed that one too. Just learning from somebody that's been around for so long, seeing how they put matches together, seeing how they take, crowd interactions into account, and I'm learning so much from working with all these talented people, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
You've wrestled so many good people already, but do you still have like a bucket list? Is there a couple guys you really want to wrestle when wrestling gets back going again?
For sure. I mentioned when I was younger, I used to watch ECCW on TV, and the first character I remember was Cremator, actually. So he is at the top of my bucket list. If I can get a chance to wrestle him anytime soon, I'd be really, 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 really happy. I think I've wrestled all of my trainers except for Artemis Spencer at this point, who is by far one of the best wrestlers in this country. And we almost had a match scheduled actually back in December, but that got rescheduled, unfortunately. But I'm still dying to wrestle with him because we screw around in training doing all sorts of cool stuff, and I would love to pull out some of that stuff in front of a live audience one day.
That'd be amazing. And Creamer is cool too because you also have the monster versus kind of a smaller guy. So like there's so many layers to that matchup. That'd be really cool.
For
Now,
sure.
You've spent some time on the island. We haven't had you up here too much on the north part, but and VIPW starting to bring you in more. What are some of your memories from wrestling on Vancouver Island?
I love Vancouver Island. I remember a few of the fair shows that you brought me into, which were nice. I'm not sure if I told you, but I actually bumped into one of my coworkers out there, and they were watching in the crowd while we were performing. I forget what was that? What was
I think it was
the
the
fair show?
Comox Valley exhibition.
Yes, that was the one, I think. Yeah. So bumped into one of my coworkers there, which was quite fun. And one of my favorite things about working the island actually is the camaraderie, because we all stayed together, whether it's at BJ's place or whether it was at your school. And it's just like, people talk about the bonding from road trips and all that stuff, but that was genuinely where a lot of my bonding came from. Just, watching shitty wrestling with the boys and talking shit and all that fun stuff, and just getting to know your wrestlers and your peers is genuinely the thing I value the most about my time on Vancouver Island. Obviously, it's great to work them as well, and getting to wrestle in Cremator's ring is a godsend, because he has a reputation for having the most soft and heavenly ring to bump in. But yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the opportunities I've received on Vancouver Island.
Amazing. And I love that you brought up the ring. It still doesn't tickle. It's not like, it's just the nicest of all of them. And
Yes,
it's
sure.
one that we're not crawling out of, limping out of all the time. It's pretty nice that way. Now, you've been known for something since I started, at least, like with ECCW. I didn't join right away. I came in a little bit later. I moved from Ontario and all that. But after matches, you're always handing out what to whom?
So I have a post-match ritual or tradition, I should say, and I share Pop-Tarts with the locker room after each of my matches. And I always heard stories about different wrestlers with their pre-match and post-match rituals. I don't remember if it was Hurricane or if it was Randy Orton, about how they would always eat half a Reese's peanut butter cup before a match and half after a match. And I wanted something similar. So I quite enjoy my Pop-Tarts. And I remember the first Pop-Tarts I had were a few years ago. I went camping and somebody shared them with me for the first time. And just the act of sharing sweets and the act of sharing something new with somebody is something that I wanted to do. And just the smiles and the giggling and the astonishment people have whenever I offer them Pop-Tarts is fun. So it's a good treat for myself, and it's a good treat for the locker room as well.
It's awesome. It's just something no one expected either. At least when I first came, I'm like, whoa, what? Oh, thank you. Like, it's just different, and it's definitely something that we always remember you by. Like, no matter what, I'm always going to remember Jacky is the guy who always gave me Pop-Tarts and so many other great things. But I'm like, it's just something that makes you stand out too, and just show how nice of a human you are, because you're one of the nicest guys in the world, and it's cool to see.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, you mentioned watching Nicole Matthews and how good she is. One of your biggest influences, if I'm hoping I'm right here, is like Joshi wrestling, correct?
Oh, you hit the nail on the head, actually. I get a lot of inspiration from the Joshi wrestling, and I actually went to Japan last year, and I unfortunately didn't get booked, but I purposely wanted to make sure I hit up a Joshi show or two. So I caught up with Tokyo Joshi Pro, met one of my favorite wrestlers, Yuka Sakazaki, who's actually doing some work with All Elite Wrestling right now. And I just find that the most creative things that I've ever seen in a wrestling ring happen in Japanese women's wrestling, as well as, Japanese wrestling in general with New Japan as well. But that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from, because we all want to stand out in the wrestling ring. And I just find that's where I get a lot of my creative inspirations from.
What got you originally into it? Because I know, like, everyone's talking maybe like Austin and Shawn Michaels doing their matches, that big feud, and WrestleMania for there, like Hogan and Rock and these guys. Like, what brought you to Joshi wrestling?
Yeah, so I think my taste has kind of changed over time because when I did start watching wrestling, it was, Raw and SmackDown because that was what I had access to. But now with social media and a lot less time on my hands, I don't really have time to sit down and watch, 2 or 3 hour shows. So a lot of the content that I absorb nowadays is through gifs on Twitter and stuff, and a lot of those accounts highlight a lot of shows out on the independents, such as New Japan, not New Japan, sorry, the Joshi Wrestling, as well as shows out in the States, and just yeah, I would say change in life and the amount of time I have has affected what I consume. Just a lot less time, and I need to get my wrestling content in smaller chunks nowadays.
That makes sense. And when we're kids and we have all the time in the world, we can watch all that. But now it's so much, and it's so talented too. Like, it's hard to pick what you want to watch all the time. So I definitely think it's a GIF era too. So if I see something, I might intrigue me to a match like that or that kind of wrestling.
I also want to give you a shout out for introducing me to the coffin drop meme. All of the videos that were posted on your channel with the coffin drop meme. I'm usually pretty good about finding memes, but the fact that you were the one that introduced me to that amazing content was great.
Thank you. Now, with wrestling on hold right now, and kind of maybe like any injuries, hopefully all healed up, coming out of the gate, like, what are your goals once we get to wrestle again?
Yeah, so I'm secretly grateful for this time off because it has given me time to recover my body and recharge my batteries. So I'm looking to, it's going to be hard because I don't know what wrestling is going to look like when we come back. Like, I don't know if Commodore is still going to be happening, and that's coming up next month. And summer times are usually a bit of a lull anyways, but I am hoping that we just pick up where we left off. Me and Sharif were getting we were so close to getting our hands on the tag team titles with ECCW, and we were going to bring Sharif down to the island a bit more. So just 2020 was going to be the year of Reloaded, but things are kind of on hold at the moment. But we're just going to pick up where we left off and keep aiming for those titles.
I love it. I love Sharif on the island too. That'll be great. Now, if you could give any advice to anyone listening today who wants to be a wrestler, what would it be? And just like, what can you pull from your experience to offer other people?
I want to say there has never been a better time to join up with a local wrestling school. ECCW has some of the best trainers around, and I'm curious, how are things on the island with your school?
It's going all right. We're in Victoria right now. We're in a boxing ring, so it's a little bit hard. But everyone's growing. We need another new crop. We don't got a lot of guys right now, so we're hoping to rebuild the shelves, stock them a little bit again.
I was going to say, other than our school, I would say the next best bet would probably to get some training with your school as well, because you have an outstanding reputation with your students as well, just looking at your track record with the talent coming from the island. But like I said, there's never been a better time to start training, just because the schools are available. We're always looking for new hungry talent, and you never know until you give it a shot. One of my regrets actually is not starting sooner, because growing up I've always prioritized school and everything. So I might look pretty young, but I have actually finished my studies at UBC, and I waited until all that stuff was sorted out until I got a stable job before I actually invested more time in wrestling. So I would have loved to started wrestling when I was Travis's age, when I was Sharif's age, just to get that much more time in. Yeah, that was probably my one regret, is just not starting sooner. So if you have any interest, I would recommend starting sooner rather than later, because there's no better time.
And I agree. Just do whatever you want to do. Like, follow your dreams, do your goals, because worst case, you fail and you do something again. You try again, or you do something new. So just always trying your best and just giving it, just doing it is what I always say. Now, I'm going to open up the floor to you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans now?
Yeah, these are kind of some hard times at the moment with everything going on in the world. Just look out for your friends and family. Look out for your own personal, physical, and mental health during these times. And we're all going to get through this together. We're all going to be stronger afterwards.
It's true. Where on social media can people find you and interact with you?
So I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is the Jacky Lee. I'm also on Instagram, JackyLee604, and my name is spelled Jacky. Don't be the oddball that spells it Jackie, because that happens all the time.
It does indeed. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for doing this with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope everyone enjoyed this, and you'll come on again sometime down the line.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, man. You take care.
Thanks. Bye.